10. Steph is waiting at the bookstore. Jesus, Maria says. I can't talk to you right now, Steph. You don't have to talk to me right now, Steph says. I just wanted you to know I'm staying with a friend, who, so you know, isn't Kieran, for a couple nights. I want you to figure out what you want from us, whether you want anything from us. The Adderall's leaving her head, which has started pounding, and Maria doesn't want to have a loud argument with her girlfriend in the store, even though she's union, so she says fine, whatever, sure. Steph stomps off, and Maria is like, thank God, the apartment to myself tonight. I'm going to take such a fucking nap. The rest of the day is brutal, the kind where you're so tired you're past tired, time just drags, and if you can come up with a project to occupy yourself, it'll pass, but you're too tired to think of a project that doesn't require too much energy. She sneaks out the side door, but she doesn't feel like walking around. She hides in the bathroom with an old Rebecca Solnit book, but she keeps falling asleep. She thinks about taking another Adderall, but then she wouldn't be able to sleep when she gets home. The other career path that people have at this store is that they work here for 6 months or a year and then leave for an entry-level position at HarperCollins. But it's always been clear that that wasn't Maria. She's thinking about that, rearranging books on a cart and not looking at anyone when a thing falls into place. She's like, everybody I like ends up leaving this shitty job. Why do I stick around? She's like, I'm the sort of person who has too much self-regard to stay at this job, too, except I guess I'm all damaged. Meaning, trans. Not in like, and I shouldn't have transitioned sense. More like, okay, I have been trans since I was a tiny little baby. Whether it was something in my brain from before I was born, like people argue sometimes, or it was something like I picked up developmentally after I was born, like other people argue sometimes, or whether somebody sexually abused me and then I repressed the shit out of it, and then that repression transmogrified into transsexuality, as some other folks will argue. Who fucking cares? Maybe there is a gene. Maybe it'll turn out Freud wasn't a crackpot who liked logic games more than human beings. Maybe my mom was overbearing, and my father was distant. I don't care, whatever. I'm trans. I have been trans since I was little. There is this dumb thing where trans women feel like we all have to prove that we're totally trans as fuck and no doubt in our minds that we're really, truly trans. It comes from the fact that you have to prove that you're trans to psychologists and doctors. The burden is entirely on your own shoulders to prove that you are really trans in order to get any treatment at all, meaning hormones. It is stupid, and there are these hoops you have to jump through, boxes you need to check. I have only ever been attracted to men. I have never fetishized women's clothes or done anything remotely kinky. I have never been sexual with the junk I was born with. Pretty much you have to prove that you're totally normal and straight and not queer at all, so that if they let you transition, you will be a normal het woman who doesn't freak anybody out. So we often, as individuals, internalize these things, and then we, as a community, often reinforce them. All of which is relevant specifically because you are supposed to have known you were trans since you were a tiny little baby. Maria didn't, though. She felt weird when she was little. But she assumed everybody else did, too. She didn't figure out what kind of weird until she was 20. She didn't figure out what kind of weird until she was like 20. She'd known something was messed up, that she was distant from everything. She'd known that those kinds of people were out there somewhere, but it felt like there was nothing but us normal people in here. This is what everybody thinks. When she was 20, she figured out that she was such a mess, not because she was trans, but because being trans is so stigmatized. If you could leave civilization for a year and live in an abandoned shopping mall out in the desert, giving yourself injections of estrogen, working on your voice, figuring out how to dress yourself all over again, and meditating 8 hours a day on a gendered socialization, and then get bottom surgery as a reward, it would be pretty easy to transition. She's thinking about bottom surgery, wondering if other trans women who have been transitioning or transitioned or whatever for as long as she has still think about this stuff, or whether it's just all up in her face every time on the rare occasion she takes her pants down and she can't get past it, when Kieran is all bouncing like 6 inches from her face. Jesus, Kieran, she says. Deep in thought, right? He asks. I guess so. Do you want to get a beer? I seriously want to talk to you. No, Maria says, I'm going home. Gross, he says. Gross, she says back. Okay, but I really do want to talk to you. Pretty soon, he says. Okay, she says. Then her shift is over and she can go home.